The Benjamin Dixon Show is only possible with listener support. Go to www.thebenjamindixonshow.com to register for our blog and join the Progressive Army.
Today is Tuesday, February 14th, 2023. Thank you so much for joining me. Happy Valentine's Day or Valentine Day. I don't really celebrate the holiday much. Shout out to my love, my wife, my queen, who has stood by me through everything. I celebrate her on a day like today, but in terms of just the holiday, I don't pay any attention to it. But what I do pay attention to, I've been away for a while. And what I have been paying very close attention to is DUVAL, Jacksonville, Florida, as it pertains to what's happening to this nation on a national level. DUVAL, Jacksonville, Florida, which makes up the entire county of DUVAL. Jacksonville, the largest land area city in the nation. Very large area. It is the tip of the spear of fascism in this country. The experiment that Ronald DeSantis, is performing through the state of Florida is concentrated in DUVAL. And there are attacks on multiple levels. First, they are, of course, coming after the books. The video that you probably saw on social media that went super viral with all the bookshelves empty, that was from DUVAL. That was from Jacksonville. Now, I taught school in DUVAL for a few years. I'm familiar with the teachers union there. I'm familiar with how the schools operate. And I get what's happening there. The school board of DUVAL County is preemptively exercising caution in order to make sure that their teachers don't get felonies, because that's what Ronald DeSantis's Stop Woke Act is threatening. And so instead of letting their teachers, and of course, there's some teachers who are fighting back. Shout out to the teachers in DUVAL who are fighting back and refusing to empty their shelves of books. And because the books that are being thrown out, if you look at the list, there are books that are about Black people, LGBTQ people. Black history is being erased simultaneously as any notion of a person being gay. You know what else is happening in Jacksonville? Now that I'm talking about the LGBTQIA community, the pastor, Heath Lambert, I guess he's a big deal around Jacksonville. Never really heard of him before this story, but he wanted to make himself famous. The pastor of First Baptist Jacksonville has made his members sign. First Baptist Church members must now sign a sexuality oath opposing LGBTQ freedoms. This is according to First Coast News. The church, which has long opposed LGBTQ rights in Jacksonville, is now requiring members to sign an anti-gay pledge to remain in the church. Now, this is not breaking news in the sense that someone caught the pastor and the church doing this. This is breaking news in the sense of the pastor sat down and did a glowing interview to let the city of Jacksonville, which again is the tip of the spear of the entire push towards fascism that's happening on a national level. They are under attack in the classrooms, and the pastor of First Baptist did a sit-down glowing interview to let the nation know why his top priority is same-sex marriage and not the homelessness outside of his church.
Everybody in our culture is fighting about sex, and we want our congregation to be happy and kind, and so we don't want to fight about it. And so it's just very helpful to say, here's what we think about it, and if you want to be a part of our congregation, you're welcome. If you don't, that's fine too.
We're going to talk about that today too. We're going to dig into that because this is the same church that turned up in the Southern Baptist Church investigation. All of the churches that covered up sexual assault and sexual abuse, this church turned up on the list. We'll talk about that. There's also the glaring hypocrisy of this sparkling city that sitteth on a hill in the middle of abject poverty. Homelessness in DUVAL, right in front of this church that is more concerned with opposing same-sex marriage. Maybe you should get your ministers under control. I wonder how many other cases that Southern Baptist Church could have found out about. Maybe you all are lucky just to have 2 cases come out. So that's going on. So that's where I've been. I've been away. I've been taking some time, and I have been trying to get video out. I'm going to have some videos out today. Shout out Solidarity and shout out to Really American. I really like the folks over there. I've been doing work with them since the last election cycle, but we really are going to put out a message that speaks to the fact that what a real American looks like is something totally different than what the white evangelical conservative Christian coup is trying to make America look like. And of all the things that we see happening with the January 6ers, of all the things that we see happening with the special counsel, Jack Smith, with all the things that we see happening, I honestly will make the case that DUVAL, Jacksonville, Florida, is ground zero for the ongoing fascist coup that's happening around this country. Because, again, don't forget, another thing that's happening in Jacksonville, the Youth Behavioral Risk Assessment Survey, the survey that schools were using to gather data on the risk tendencies, the suicidal tendencies, the risky sexual behaviors of students, because we know students engage in risky behavior. Moms for Liberty, the same group that is invading school boards around the country, they were successfully able to get that survey pulled, which means there's a lot of funding that will now go unfunded for students and research and the most marginalized groups, the children who need us the most, the children who are contemplating suicide. That group has been targeted by Moms for Liberty, and the research is being funded. The research has been pulled. The survey has been pulled. And because of that, funding that's connected to important programs that help at-risk students, that's now at risk, at threat of being removed. All of that is happening in DUVAL. In addition to, I know I've been away for a while, but you see I've come fully loaded. In addition to a piece of legislation here in the city, a city resolution that is going to criminalize panhandling. Now, I just described the homelessness that sits right outside of Jacksonville, First Baptist Church, Jacksonville, where Heath Lambert is so concerned about the sexuality of the residents of DUVAL that he had the members of First Baptist sign a pledge. I just talked about all of the homelessness that sits right in front of that church. Well, you know, as the parishioners go in and out, they're tired of being asked for alms. You know, they're tired of being asked for handouts. And so now they've lobbied their city council to criminalize panhandling in the city of Jacksonville, DUVAL. That's what's going on. So in every aspect of what this new white evangelical theocratic fascist state is going to look like, you have it going down in DUVAL. Let's begin with the book bannings. There was the video of the empty bookshelves that went super viral across Twitter in particular and Instagram, and that happened in DUVAL. That's because Moms for Liberty, which is an AstroTurf billionaire funded activist terrorist group. Yeah, let's just skip to the point. They are enacting their own type of political pressure and threats on Duval County. And because of that, the bookshelves are empty. Now, we're dealing with a county that is dealing with high levels of depression in their students, high levels. And this is the information that comes from the survey that Moms for Liberty also helped to get taken out of schools. Moms for Liberty, they're the problem. Moms for Liberty, they're the ones that are challenging, they're committing coups on school boards all around the country, installing QAnon January 6er election deniers on the school board level. That's who's at play here in Duval. And they have successfully gotten rid of the testing, or rather not the testing, but the research into the dangerous behaviors in students. But they've also successfully gotten the bookshelves emptied in Duval. Some 180 books have been banned, most of them dealing with multicultural themes or LGBTQIA themes, of course, because everything to this group, Moms for Liberty, and all of their incel sons, their white supremacist, right-wing, white evangelical incels, that group, they are 100% committed to ensuring that no education is possible other than what they are taught in Sunday school. You can't talk about anything that doesn't line up with their white evangelical theology. You can't expose little Susie and little Sally to books that might, tell them about Islam, that Islam even exists, or Judaism, even though they absolutely love to pretend to be, these white evangelicals pretend to have solidarity with Jewish people, and they like to say Judeo-Christian values, when in reality they're going to throw Jewish people up against the wall, just like they are the gay people, just like they are black people. This is what the Moms for Liberty group represent. They are the tip of the spear, and they have multiple actions that are going on in Duval. And they are banning books. Books they're empty. The shelves are empty in Duval. Teachers have been instructed to cover up their books or remove them altogether until a certified media specialist can come around and approve the books. See, here's where we are. They've shifted the terms of the debate to being about how quickly this media advisor can get around. Like it's a capacity question now. When the argument of the day is there freedom to read or not? And the answer is not in a fascist state. That is what Ronald DeSantis is curating. He's incubating a fully fledged fascist state right here in the state of Florida, and Duval is the epicenter. Because the books are under attack, the LGBTQIA community is under attack, the black community stays under attack. Stand Your Ground is getting black folks killed left and right. I haven't even talked about. I still have to. I have an interview that I did with the father of Dominique Brodus, of DJ Brodus. I'm sorry, DJ Broadus. Forgive me. Who was killed by an intimate partner. But that person, even though Gar Frazier had the audacity to move the body and tamper with evidence, he did not have to answer for charges of murder because of the Stand Your Ground law in the state of Florida. It is the wild, wild west out here. But it's just been updated with the algorithm, with the precision of an algorithm. That is how Ronald DeSantis is implementing fascism. And the books, that's just the first thing, right? So again, all across Northeast Florida, there's 180 books, some 180 books that have been pulled from school library shelves and from the personal collections of teachers, their personal libraries, anything that was donated. I mean, they're tracking down. They are to the point where they're tracking down one specific book that was donated that had an LGBTQIA theme. And so they're shutting down all of the books in DUVAL. In Florida, 566 books across 21 school districts were designated as banned by the report, and Duval County makes up nearly 1/3 of those books. The tip of the spear. That is the tip of the spear of fascism, and it's happening right in Duval. All right, we'll be back right after this.
Go to www.patreon.com/The BPD Show and get twice the content and unfiltered interviews without any of the commercial interruptions.
And here we go. Very special welcome to our 3 latest patrons. Welcome to Laura. Thank you so much for becoming a patron. And Joyce Gates, you were a patron a long time ago, but thank you so much for your patience. This is your patron party. And Joseph Garage, you were a patron at the top of the month. Thank you so much for becoming a patron. Oh, wait a minute. You too can become a part of this prestigious and prodigious patron family by going to patreon.com/The BPD Show, where you get twice the content, none of the commercial interruptions, and you get access to our bi-weekly patron party, which we just had. It was we had a great time Friday night. Patreon.com/The BPD Show, and we'll be back right after this. Unless you're a patron, which means you don't have to listen to these commercials.
Welcome back to the Benjamin Dixon Show.
Yep.
Visit us online at thebenjamindixonshow.com.
Yep. All right. Welcome back. Duval. I'm serious. Duval is the front line of fascism. It's the front line of activism for Black life. It's the front line of Black life being taken by stand your ground laws. I mean, Black folks, entire groups of Black people are allowed to kill each other out with nary investigation by the police in Duval, all because of stand your ground. So it's not only white folks who are getting away with killing Black folks with stand your ground. Black folks are getting away with, bodies are dropping every day. You got to be careful where you drive around Duval. And all of that is happening in the backdrop of what Pastor Heath Lambert thinks is so important, that he wants to rest his reputation. He wants to enshrine his reputation across the nation, because he put out a press release and he did a sit-down interview as if this was a good thing. Here is the pastor who's having his members sign an anti-LGBTQ marriage pledge in order to be a member of First Baptist Jacksonville.
Senior Pastor Heath Lambert says church leaders didn't make the decision. The entire congregation voted to put the agreement in place. But it's put the conservative church in the crosshairs of LGBTQ activists and even other Jacksonville churches. The First Baptist Church sexuality agreement makes clear that LGBTQ freedoms are not welcome in the church. Senior Pastor Heath Lambert says the church is publicly expressing what Christians have believed for a couple thousand years.
It means to rule out all sorts of sexual sins. It means to rule out pornography and polygamy and fornication and adultery and homosexuality.
He says this is not controversial to Christians.
Everybody in our culture is fighting about sex. And we want our congregation to be happy and kind, and so we don't want to fight about it. And so it's just very helpful to say, here's what we think about it. And if you want to be a part of our congregation, you're welcome. If you don't, that's fine too.
Well, what do you think about the homelessness that's right outside of your doorsteps, Pastor Lambert? Or better yet, what do you think about the pastors affiliated with First Baptist Jacksonville, your church, that turned up in the Southern Baptist investigation? Stephen Edmonds, who was a deacon and a youth minister at First Baptist Church, convicted in 2003 of 3 counts of lewd or lascivious molestation of a minor. What do you think about that? Did they sign? Did you have a pledge for them to sign an anti-molestation and grooming and pedophilia? Or did you just want to focus on the LGBTQIA community because it's so easy for us to attack them right now? Because your colleagues and your comrades have made the LGBTQIA community the boogeyman. And so you as a pastor, instead of exposing the evil of these organizations and media companies who are making the LGBTQIA community the boogeyman, which has led to actual violence and gotten people killed, you decided to add on top of it, never mind the hypocrisy of you also being the same church that is affiliated with Daryl Gilliard, who was considered a mentee of First Baptist Jacksonville, who also turned up in the Southern Baptist Church investigation, who was reported on to the officials at Jacksonville, First Baptist Church Jacksonville. Daryl Gilliard, who was convicted, charged, and went to prison for sexual assault in 2008, and was convicted in 2009 of lewd or lascivious molestation of a minor and lewd or lascivious conduct. He was a mentee of First Baptist Church Jacksonville. And the report said an attempted rape complaint was made by a young woman at First Baptist Church in Jacksonville, but the pastor was dismissive of her report. Is this the same First Baptist Church Jacksonville? Yes. The same church that has the nerve to try to alienate and vilify the LGBTQIA community is the same church that trained rapists, alleged rapists. You know, this is such a litigious society. I have to be careful. Pastor Lambert, is your church going to answer for that? Or are you too busy grandstanding on the suffering of the LGBTQIA community? See, Jacksonville is on the front lines of fascism across this country. Because even the white evangelical pastors are so full of themselves, they can't see the hypocrisy that is going to strangle them. Because pride goes before destruction, Pastor Lambert, a haughty spirit before the fall. And while you have tried to grandstand on the backs of the LGBTQIA community, it looks like the skeletons in the closets of First Baptist Jacksonville. It's enough to tell a whole reality TV show. The Unsolved Mysteries of Daryl Gilliard in First Baptist Jacksonville. How many other victims are there? And you have the nerve to grandstand against the LGBTQIA community? The devil is a liar. Again, DUVAL, Jacksonville, is on the front lines of the tip of the spear of fascism and the all-out push that is honestly happening across the country. But it is a free-for-all in DUVAL because, well, it is a power center for the Republican Party. And they are attacking democracy and decency at every angle in the county of DUVAL, the city of Jacksonville. Again, I reminded you that they are not only, attacking the LGBTQIA community here, they're criminalizing homelessness. You can't panhandle. You can't ask for money. That's what they're going for. The city resolution hasn't passed yet. It's in the process of being passed, but the people are clearly upset because you're not even trying to make facilities available for all of the homeless people here. There are more homeless people in the city of Jacksonville than shelters can provide for. Okay? If you drive down the street, you go down to City Hall, You drive by the library. You drive down by James Weldon Johnson Park. If you drive over by wherever. Oh, First Baptist Jacksonville. If you drive by First Baptist Jacksonville, you will see more homelessness than the city has capacity to facilitate. But instead of spending money to help the homeless, the fine conservatives and the distinguished leaders of the city of Jacksonville have decided to criminalize begging for money. Oh, we're getting into some biblical times now. I mean, you're trying to criminalize begging for alms in front of the temples? It's a notion so absurd that this one caller into the local NPR affiliate dropped the F-bomb. Now, NPR filtered it out, but listen to the anger, because this is, the people are rightly furious over this.
But there's a lot of people out here suffering. A lot of people don't have health care, don't have food to eat, don't have a place to stay. And there's a lot of people on the verge of being that way. And for this, I don't know, it's Google, Mr. Carrico, what an awful human being, just to add to the suffering and the misunderstanding.
Well, let's refrain from ad hominem attacks, please. But go ahead with your opinion.
Well, what else do I have? I have no way. I have no other way to express the way that people feel out here. There's a lot of people feel the way I do. A lot of people don't call the show that are poor. They don't do it, but I'm doing it. And I'd like to think that maybe I'm speaking for them. We're hurting out here. So take your Trumpist, DeSantis gimmicks and please go away.
Oh, whoa.
All
No.
All right.
No.
We didn't show up for that, Melissa.
Please, folks. Look.
Yeah, so it's a little rowdy in Jacksonville when they're cussing on NPR. But the point is this. The people of Jacksonville are hurting, but they're also noticing. And the people of Jacksonville are speaking up and fighting back. But again, this is the front line. The city of Jacksonville is the front line of the national push towards fascism. Ron DeSantis's policies are in full effect here, and the organizations that flank him, he's not doing this by himself. The organizations that are making this possible, like Moms for Liberty, they're out running point. They're running point to execute the plays. And this is what we're fighting against all around the country, from the school board level up to the governor's seats and even up to the White House. Do you get the picture? Now, I know this is happening all around the country, but I want you to see if we look at an individual city and look at all of the components that are hitting that particular city, you'll see that this is a concerted effort. This is a systemic program that's being executed across the country by theocratic fascists. They are attacking the school boards. They're attacking the entire school system to weaken it, but also to infiltrate and put their QAnon conspiracy theorists on their platforms, on the school boards. They weaken the system. They exacerbate poverty. They accelerate the decline of every system, of every infrastructure that we have, whether it be educational, whether it be medical, whether it be mental health. They have facilitated the decline of every single piece of infrastructure that we could use to help the people. And then, of course, you add on top of that the vilification of any type of behavior, any type of sexuality, any type of lifestyle that's not approved of by white evangelicals. Every one of those components is happening in DUVAL. I know it's happening all around the country, but every piece of the action plan is being implemented. Every part of the play is being run right now in the city of DUVAL, in the county of DUVAL, city of Jacksonville. So there's some tumultuous times ahead. I could go in a little bit further, but we're getting ready to come up at the end of the episode. If you want to get the second half, go to patreon.com/the BPD show. I'm going to be talking to a couple of city officials, a couple of activists, some pastors. I'm going to lean in here in the city of DUVAL. I want to lean in because I think it is the fascist fangs, right, This is where Ron DeSantis, this is his playground. This is where he's able to have the impact of all of his policies fully implemented, and he's getting the support of the conservatives here. The grand old party, they are out in full fashion, and it's some difficult times ahead here in the city of Jacksonville and Duval. Patrons, stay tuned. Everyone else, patreon.com/the BPD show to get access to it. If not, I'll see you tomorrow.